on that day and that afternoon, after we went for dinner and we all come back to the building, to the courthouse, where my grandkids and young people were all around me and telling me that if I took this stand that I better try to be brave and don't let those guys get me in the wrong and things like that, you know. And I says, they will not. I says, for what I've been saying, I'm telling them the time I was there and what really happened and all, and I memorized that because I was there and I was the one that went through all this, and I didn't have no written anything on the papers and written things that, because I was there and I memorize things, you know. So finally they call on me, right, a little after 1. So I took the stand there. And they were all ready for me. The judge was sitting there and a couple of attorneys were there that was on the Kerr Dam side, you know, that were ones that were leasing, and several others that they think were on our side, and I couldn't name who their names, I did not know. So when they says, well, it's for you, Mrs. Mathias, now what did you know at this time? And we hear that you know quite a bit. I told them, yes, I do. But first, I'm going to ask, as I'm standing here and I see the people in this courtroom, it's full. Mixed whites and Indians. I would like to know if anyone at that time in 1930, is there anyone in this room that was there in 1930 when Mr. Kerr came with some of his friends that they were going to, you know, lease and start asking the Indians if he could lease the fall and build a dam. First, I might ask this question. I'm asking anyone that was there at the time in 1930, I would like to see you get up and I want to meet with you before I start on this here to say things. And waited for a few seconds, no one, no word, nothing. I said, so, I guess I'm a loner. I guess I am the only one that was there at the time, because then I knew already that those guys like Teresa Wallen, the ones I mentioned that was running around trying to get people that were there in that year and, you know, way back, that if they could help, you know. They come to John Peter Paul, he's my age. And he said, yes, I remember the time when they had that big gatherings there, when they were meeting about the Kerr Dam that is now called Kerr Dam. At the time they had no name. And I was too young to even want to participate, and I wasn't even concerned about nothing. So I was around, but I didn't even sit in the meetings, so you can't call on me. All right. They moved on to Agnes Vandenberg. She is much older than I am. I think she's in her 80s sons. And they asked her, and she also said the same thing, that she knew at the time when they had that gatherings, but she didn't come around. Several others, they couldn't get no one. Then finally they found one person, and that was me. So they started asking me questions. How old I was, I told him my age, and I had 2 children, and how often I attended the meeting at the Equator Hall. I said, well, anytime I had a chance, I was in there. Because I had a little one and about a 2-year-old. And most of the time, I says, in them years, them olden days, no one knew what babysitters were. We used to never have babysitters. When we had our children, we, us mothers, used to attend to our children and take care of them. We don't dare let our children have a babysitter to take care of our children. Here a while back now, you always say, well, I'm going to look for a babysitter and I'll leave my children, I have to do this, and not saying that's no good, but just saying that in them days, and I had kids. I used to sit in and I would listen in. And I told those guys, if you people think that I have a lack of education, and those people using high words, college words and all that there, yes, in the way, maybe you might be right there. But we had an Indian interpreter that would interpret the chiefs. And I am a person that still speak my language. And I am positive that I talk fluent Indian Kootenai language. If I don't know any words, maybe just very a few. Indian Kootenai college words, maybe I don't know. But outside that, I know everything. And when Jim Callowat was the Kootenai interpreter at the time, after what the chiefs would say, and then he'd step forward, and then he would interpret in English. So there was 2 ways that I was listening. I was listening in our Indian language, Kootenai language, and they turned it over, and then I was listening in English. And what I know, what it was said, and that they were going to lease it for 50 years. And they asked me, how far was it? Where you said the camps were, where you people were camping, and how far was that camping place to the Equator Hall? I said, walking distance. All you have to do is get up and go just a little ways across the creek and go up a little hill, and there's where the Equator Hall sat. So that makes you that you could walk back and forth. Whenever it was time for me, that I think it was time I feed my children, then I go back down, and when everything is over, I go back. Noon, we would all gather down there, and we used to eat outside. We had teepees and tents, and Mr. Kerr bought all the groceries for the Indians that were camping out. He was so generous and nice because he wanted to build that dam. He even handed out cash to the chiefs. I seen that and I knew that for the chiefs to take care of their people with while they were camping out. That's how much he wanted the dam, the fall, so he could build the dam. He was pretty loose with his money. That's what those lawyers asked me, how we acted and what it was all about, and that's what I told him. I says, very generous. And he was loose with his money, because money talks, as would someone say, you know. We know who says that, always say, money talks. So that's how it went. We had all the money to eat with. They would haul in groceries of all kinds, and there was quite a few of us in the encampment. We'd all have enough to eat, and what there was left, they'd take it and put it aside for the next meal. So that's what they were asking me. Every question they would ask me, I would answer. And I stood around and I told them, if you attorneys, lawyers, judge, and your secretaries would all hide your papers, and let me ask you guys a question and see if you would answer me like I'm answering you people without any paper in front of me to kind of glance at now and then so I won't make a mistake. I said, me, I'm a full-blood Indian. My blood says 4/4. So that means you're a full-blood. And I'm using this here. And you can ask me any kind of questions, I will answer you. And it made quite a few people kind of laugh and smile when I told them to hide their papers and let them give me a chance to ask them questions. So I did my best. I tried all that. So that's what I said. I was there at the time in 1930. And you're asking me what I think about the Kerr Dam money. There is quite a few. Then after that, and then Chief Mathias had said, I'm a sub-chief. Chief Kustara is the chief over all of us, but I am a sub-chief, and what I think that under one condition, if the Indians can get free electricity, and if you all say yes, then we'll let it go. So the Indians will build homes, and they're going to need electricity, where right today none of us have any electricity. We use our lamps, we carry water, we go to an outhouse. They were still living like that in 1930. And he was right. Under one condition, if you agree with us that you're going to give us free electricity, Chief Kustara and I will say, yes, go ahead, build it. And they agreed to this. This is one thing that these people still say and talk about. Where is our free electricity? But they didn't write it on black and white. No, there was nothing that was written about what the chiefs were saying. And even though, if they did, wouldn't you think they would change it when they got back to the superintendent's office? Mr. Coe was the superintendent at that time. And Mr. Coe wasn't a very honest superintendent, I can say that. So even if the secretaries would be dictating, writing that, when they got back to their office, they would exchange it anyways. So right today, Indians not getting free electricity from the Kerr Dam.
What makes you say that Superintendent Coe was not honest?
Well, there was many things that we all do know, us Indians around here, that he was crooked. Superintendent that we did have was Mr. Charles Coe. That was his name. Not taking care of the tribal Indians, especially them ones that were, you know, didn't know too much. Like, can't write, can't read. There's a word for that, and I am forgetful. And at times, you know, I shouldn't put this in there, but I know for a fact there is many things that he did crooked. But it wouldn't look nice if I go all the way.
Truth should be known.
Yeah, yeah. So from that time, and he must have changed a lot of things, you know, about what did Kerr, he was right with Kerr right there at that time too. And they could went together back over at the office and exchange a lot of things, what the chief asked for, how they, Kerr Dam, if it was built, how they would take care of it. The money would be, you know, distributed to them to, you know, use on certain things. Then after that, all we used to get is $200 a year. Individuals would get $100 in the fall time, like now, for their children's clothing. And it would go along, and in December again, they would get another $100 to each individual for the Christmas presents that they claimed that would be, and that's all. Until this new contract, new lease come up again. Well, at least now we get $500 to each individual twice a year. And there must be about 6,000 and some odd of us on the rolls. And something knows how much we get from the Kerr Dam a year. And I still know there is a lot of money. And here a while back, we were told that they were going to cut 100,000 for the elders only, that they could use throughout the years, because they look at it this way, like him and I and our ages, we're not going to live another 20 years. And something knows if we can even make another 10 years, maybe not. We just had lost a couple of our elders here just here a while back. Was Mary Andrews and Madeline Couture. They were older than I am. Now, right today, I'm the oldest of all in Kootenai. That is women, folks. I am the oldest now, 77. And the men, in the line of men, the Joantis is their elder, is 80.
94.
94. And yesterday he said 93. He heard him, and I smiled at myself. He's just standing right in 94, 93 for I don't know how many years. Well, poor guy, you get kind of senile, even in my age. In his age, we were like that. Grab something here, and I meant to put it somewhere else. I go halfway, what was I here for? Or what was I supposed to go get? Or this, you know, it's bad. Then my granddaughters, especially Rhonda, she'd always name things in my head and tell me it's that, it's shrinking, or it's drying up, or whatever. And I don't know what she's talking about. What's drying in my brains, or what? Yeah, and I do believe that when they mention about $100,000 put aside for the elders, and now pretty soon, next month, we'll be receiving letters to all the elders, and they'll say 6 months you're going to be helped for your electricity and your wood and all this and that. And we never use it. We never go 6 months. Like the past 4 years, the third year, the second, and this year. We only get help about like 4 months, and they're broke. There's no more money. And the last time I talked with Pat Pierre, and I says, how come we always run short? We were told that they were going to put $100,000 only for the senior citizens that could pull themselves through with this, like lights and wood and all. He says, no, it's not only your elders. Disabled comes in on that, but I don't mind disabled. And he said, and then young people come for that. They claim they have no jobs. And I says, yes, they don't have jobs, but they get GA, don't they? And whatever amount they get, can't they use it for wood and for light? And he just smiled. He says, well, you know how things are. So here it is, that $100,000 isn't even doing anything for the elders that they promised them they're going to put it aside. Because right there, the first year I moved back to Hot Springs, moved from Hot Springs back to Dayton here. We did get help for all along, maybe 2 cords of wood. Here come my grandson Kenny Freelander, and he had a cord of wood for me, and we unloaded. I told him, do I owe you anything, or I'll give you gas? No, Grandma, no. He's smiling around, says, it's just a donation from me. A few days later, here come Jimmy Hamel, and he unloaded wood, and I says, what do you want for that? He says, nothing, Grandma, I just give it. And all the wood I have left over right now, it comes from them. And then one day, I was gone this summer, I come home, and here there was a pile of wood out there. And I started wondering, who is kind enough to bring me wood? Never did know who brought it. Till one day they had, I believe it was in Elmo, they had meeting. And quite a few people were there. And here come Pat Pierre and tapped me on my shoulder. He says, was you happy to come home and see all the wood there? And I said, oh, so it must be you that delivered it. Not exactly me, but Kicking Horse Boys brought it because I asked them to. So that's nice. I told him, I'm glad that you did that for us. And he did it for several other people, you know. But